New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Nick of Time Show. Here giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time, and we're here to talk about a preview. The Knicks are going to be playing the Sacramento Kings tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And since I am not exactly the Kings expert, I brought someone along with me who knew a lot more about this team than I do. So please welcome to the show Brendan Nunez, who does content creation on our YouTube channel. Shout out to another guy on the YouTube channel. All right, the show's called The Pulse, right?
Yeah, Kings Pulse. I appreciate you having me on, man. Excited for the matchup. Kings are on a long road trip right now and rolling. And from our short little convo before we press record here, it sounds like the Knicks might be doing the same. So it should be a fun one.
Yeah, we're kind of rolling too. It's interesting because some people don't believe that we're rolling. Some people are. It's just one of those things, and you probably going through this too, where we beating up on the teams who we're supposed to beat up on. We're winning. There's a lot of little injuries happening in the NBA. So the guys who are being injured, we're beating those guys. So some people are like, are we really that good, or are we just getting lucky? So, but that has a lot to do with some people's skepticism, but we're going to talk about it all. And I'm going to bring you to this screen here that kind of breaks down what's happening: offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, and all that jazz. I know the engine for you guys has and will be your point guard, but your point guard what's the injury situation with you guys right now though? Because I think De'Aaron Fox, is he injured? Because I don't think he was playing with the Cavs, right?
Yeah, he didn't play in that Cleveland game. In the Milwaukee one, he totally looked off. He's actually kind of been limping around and hasn't quite looked like himself for a couple weeks now. He just came out and said that he has a foot injury going on that's been lingering and bothering him actually since that game winner he hit in Orlando earlier this year, which is back in November 5th. So I think he's had this lingering issue. I would guess that he doesn't play tomorrow, but it seems like a little bit of a coin toss. I think it's one of those, typical, like if he needed to, say this was a postseason game or something, like he could play, but they're just playing it a little bit more cautious. And the Kings have enough depth to kind of make up for it. I think that other guys are able to step up. I think as much as Fox might be the best player, and I think it's a debate with Sabonis, I think Sabonis's skill set specifically is probably the most irreplaceable. So him still being out there, I think that they'll still have a really good offense, and they've been rolling on the defensive end is where there's been a lot of progress recently. So my guess would be that there's no De'Aaron Fox tomorrow and potentially no Terrence Davis either, but they'll probably both be questionable until, not long prior to tip off like they were in that Cleveland game yesterday.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One, what makes him, Sabonis, the guy who you feel like is the most irreplaceable? And two, you guys recently beat the Cavs, if I'm not mistaken, without De'Aaron Fox. And the question, I guess, is how? Because I know your starting five, you're looking at it, he's like, okay, there's some hitters on the starting five. You got De'Aaron Fox, who's always been a blur. You have Herter, who's been a three-point shooter on the Hawks. Sabonis and Julius Randle, they've always had this thing going on. I'm not sure how are you aware if you followed Indiana before, but Sabonis and Julius Randle, they kind of have like some competition going on for a long time.
I didn't know that.
Up and down that lineup, your starting five has been looks pretty good on paper, and then you have your rookie as well. So how are you guys able to still score points and beat the Cavs without your leader?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it had to do with the defensive end. Surprisingly, in the final 5 minutes, or maybe 4.5, close to 5 minutes, Cleveland literally didn't score. they got 10 stops in a row and went on a 19-0 run to close that game, which is just ridiculous, and there's no Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell is playing on Cleveland side, I'm sure that doesn't go the same way, but you're on the road. They already beat the Cavs once earlier this year. So I would assume Cleveland went into it kind of wanting to get their get back, and to be able to sweep that season series is pretty big. So I think that they have other guys that can kind of pick up the slack when Fox isn't there on offense. Harrison Barnes was leading scorer yesterday against Cleveland. They've done a good job getting to the line. And they have really good shooting. Like De'Aaron had improved as a shooter this year, but it goes beyond him. Like you mentioned, Herter. I think Harrison Barnes is part of that. Keegan Murray's a really good shooter. Trey Lyles, Malik Monk is been closing games more often than not. He didn't in that Cleveland game, but usually he has been. And I think he's going to find his way in like 6 man of the year type conversations throughout the course of this year. So I think that they have enough on the offensive end that someone is going to have, there's enough pieces that someone is going to be on that night, and you'll still get your usual production from Sabonis and Harrison Barnes and things like that. So I think offensively they'll get it done. Defensively, it'll be interesting to see. Davion Mitchell's obviously a dog on that end, and like that's where he kind of makes his money. But when it comes to the Sabonis question, like I said, I think it's debatable who's better between him and Fox, but I feel like there's just more scorers like Fox than there are like bigs that play like Sabonis, and that's not to say one's more valuable than the other or anything. It's just that like
one was more rare.
There's only like maybe 3 guys I feel like that like kind of do similar things to Sabonis. Like Jokic obviously, almost want to throw Draymond in there, and like Bam. And it's just the way that he can make everybody around him better with just great screens. He's a ridiculous rebounder. He's a really good passer. He'll finish plays when you need him to. Like in that Cleveland game, he had 18 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. Like he's getting it done on the defensive end too. He's just been a total monster there. And I think that he's kind of helped unlocked everything for them, and playing him at the 5 and not having to play alongside another big with Miles Turner, I think really helps unlock like his play. Him getting to take the ball up the court himself and just playing a high-paced offense. So everything runs through Sabonis, but the key is that it's all smart players around him. They're all shooters that also know when to take advantage of guys overplaying them and go backdoor and things like that.
Interesting enough, I saw some Knicks fans were talking about trading Randall for Sabonis, like last season before the Sabonis trade even happened, and it was more so because the passing. And funny enough, like head to head, Randall has gotten a little bit of the edge on Sabonis, head to head. But overall, when you look at their game, I think some people prefer Sabonis, because of the passing. I think more so, it's pretty much the passing, and the defense for Randall is very up and down. But I don't know, with our team this season so far, we're trending upward defensively. And it's because we got Mitch Robinson back, and we got Quentin Grimes back recently. And those two on the floor together at the same time has really solidified our defense. And I think it kind of helped hold the Cleveland Cavaliers to 83% from 3. Even though some people kind of discarded because they were missing Jared Allen. But, I mean, they still had freaking Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. So I can't say you can't discard that too much because they're missing their big man, especially because we were missing our big man in Mitch Robinson for like a lot of the season. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm looking forward to that matchup. But I'm also kind of worried about the Sabonis matchup because we have Mitch here, who's our center, and he's done phenomenally for us, getting rebounds, offensive rebounds, patrolling the paint, making up for mistakes. But when it comes to those guys who are stretch 5s, he can have problems with those type of guys who play more outside. So what's Sabonis play style this year? I've seen he's taking like 1.5 threes a game. Is he playing more outside in, inside out, mid-range?
Yeah, it's definitely more just kind of like operating around the elbow, a lot of dribble handoffs, and just trying to enable everybody else. I think when he needs to, he'll take it to the basket and be more aggressive there. He had 14 free throw attempts in that game against Cleveland. So like, I think with Fox out, you'll see him be more aggressive. I tend to think that he does better against guys like Mitchell Robinson rather than like a Julius Randle. Like I think guys that can match his physicality tend to do better against him. With like Mitch Robinson, I think he does a good job of kind of throwing his weight around to try to nullify some of that shot blocking potential that Robinson has there. But I think that Julius Randle should be an interesting matchup for him. But a lot of it is Sabonis with the ball in his hands, operating around the elbow, going from left to right, and guys cutting, coming off of dribble handoffs and things like that from there. And if he recognizes an opportunity, he'll go towards the basket. But I would say he's definitely functioning more as a distributor and just kind of picking his spots to go and get his own.
So right now you're starting five because you're having a lot of injury problems. What is your starting five project to be tomorrow?
Right. If there's no De'Aaron as expected, I think we'll see the same thing we just saw in Cleveland of Davion Mitchell filling that starting point guard role.
Right.
And then Kevin Huerter at the 2, Harrison Barnes at the 3, Keegan Murray at the 4, and then Domantas Sabonis at the 5. I think that feel pretty safe to say that. And if De'Aaron is there, then Fox would fill that spot for Mitchell. But again, I would guess that he's not, and you see that same Mitchell, Huerter, Barnes, Murray, Sabonis.
Got you. Tibbs, pay attention. I don't know. For this game, Tibbs, I think we need to not play around and go a little bit smaller a little bit, maybe. Maybe we slide Randall to the 5. Funny enough, I know Cam Reddish has been out of rotation. Maybe you go a little bit smaller with Cam at the 4 to try to stretch things out, run faster. Obi Toppin for us is injured. So when we did go small sometimes, we went over Obi Toppin at the 4 because he's had a little bit success from the 3. But yesterday we went with Sims at the 4, which is interesting because I kind of see him as a center, but he played him at 4. And I actually think he probably can match up with physicality with Sabonis. He's not really a known NBA player, really, because we picked him 58th, but he's been really good for us. And I wish we used him a lot more in these kind of weird, funky matchups. So hopefully we see a lot more Sims tomorrow and have him play up against Sabonis or even, oh man, I forgot your rookie's name for a second.
Keegan Murray.
Keegan Murray. Sorry, yeah, Keegan Murray. And how Keegan's been working for you?
He's been good, man. I mean, he's had his like typical rookie struggles. Yesterday against the Cavs, he actually went 4-4 from 3 in the first couple minutes of that game. 12 points out the jump in the first quarter, but then he got in foul trouble. I think he got his 3rd foul somewhere around like 2 minutes into the second quarter, and that kind of slowed him down from there. But I mean, he could shoot the heck out of the ball. He compares himself to Chris Middleton as somebody he looks up to. And I think that you see those flashes. Like defensively, Cleveland kind of just picked on him. They just were like, all right, you guys are going to switch. If you put Keegan Murray on Darius Garland or on Karis LeVert, they're going to get past him. He's dealt with some foul trouble issues kind of there. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that the Kings could get out of a game, specifically without Fox when Sabonis is so important, that Sabonis has dealt with foul trouble throughout the course of this year, especially with how physical he is.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that Murray has kind of had typical rookie growing pains, specifically on the defensive end, but he could shoot the heck out of the ball. He's got length and size. So I think offensively it all kind of clicks, and there's almost some Harrison Barnes shades in there, I think. So yeah, I think that Murray has been solid. It's still not probably the guy I would have taken it for, to be honest, but I think he's fitting and working fine.
Oh, so you wanted to go Jaden Ivey at 4?
I was definitely an Ivy guy. And in hindsight, like Benedict Mathurin looks really good too.
Man, everybody's taking the bro on Benedict.
Yes. Yes. Mathurin looks crazy,
man. Yeesh. All right, but that's interesting information. So for Knicks fans listening, if for us, a recipe to win might have to be to attack Murray, and it's going to be interesting to see what our lineups will be. We've been going big. Sabonis has been taking advantage of big centers, so that might not be the look for us. But at the same time, a Randall versus Keegan Murray nightmare might be a nightmare for Keegan Murray. Randall has been dropping 30 points a game for the last I think it's 3 games in a row he's dropped 30.
Wow.
And he kind of takes advantage of the new guys and the little guys and the smaller guys. And I don't know, for some reason recently, he's getting that John Morant whistle. So for you to say you'll be getting into foul trouble, I don't know what happened and what's going on, but a couple of games ago, Randall would just like brush by somebody. He's getting whistles. I'm just like, I'm not used to this type of treatment. Like, so that might be an issue for you guys. I'm not gonna lie. That could be our issue. Our issue might be if and when we decide to go small, because I know we're not going to start out small, but we might have to end up small. So I might, from what you're saying, I can probably project that Mitch might not get as much time as we're used to seeing him. He might end up getting maybe more like 15 minutes or something. And you might see more Hartenstein or Sims. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see what ends up happening there. The Kings have like this weird balance where their starting lineup is big, I would say. I mean, like Herter's the 2, he's 6'7", right? And then you got Barnes and Murray, who both have good size, but Sabonis is probably a little undersized for a typical center. I still think he gets it done there. But then you'll see really small lineups too. Like you'll see lineups where sometimes Herter's sitting there at the 4 all of a sudden. And like Malik Monk has been such a huge fixture for this team. He's typically part of their closing lineup as of late. And so I think that it's interesting. Like it sounds like similarly to the Knicks, like you could pick and choose your nights that you want to go smaller or you want to go big. And that'll be an interesting little chess match between these teams. Yeah,
it's definitely going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting to see what's up with Jalen Brunson too, because I think he's playing through an injury. He's had like a string where he scored 30 points for a few games in a row. Then all of a sudden he has a quad injury. And for the last few games, he hasn't been really looking the same. So I'm kind of wondering what's happening there. I think he's playing through injury, because looking at some stats, both De'Aaron and Brunson are both tops in the league in clutch shots. I think De'Aaron was like top 5 and Brunson might be top 3. But lately, he hasn't been the same Brunson, so hopefully we turn that around. Depending on the matchup, Davion versus Brunson. Davion
said last year, sorry, real quick, that Brunson was the hardest guy for him to guard in the league last year, which is like the last name that I expected, but it also makes sense with how creative and just smart Brunson is. And I think he was talking about like, you just don't realize how strong this guy is, and Davion's not small himself. So I think it says a lot. And for Davion to come out and say that specifically, it makes me look forward to that matchup for sure.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. I was alluding to that. Brunson, when Brunson sees somebody's his height, he's just like, oh, you're my height? I'm posting you up. I'm juking you. And that, plus on top of that, you guys don't have like a real shot blocker, really. So prototypically, that makes Brunson's eyes light up like a Christmas tree, because he's like, oh, I'm going to the hole every single time. And you're going to have to send a guy after me. And I might score on 2 of you guys, or I might kick it out. But on the flip side of that, if you send 2 of them at him enough times, the Knicks are only 27th in threes. So like, depending on the night, you can get away with doubling him in the paint to litigate that. But if Julius Randle starts off hot from 3 and Grimes starts off hot from 3, then it might be a long night for you guys. But if they don't, and then you just have to, then you probably just have to contain Brunson and you'll be fine. But that's going to be a big determining factor on how the game goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The Kings don't give up many threes, and they take a lot. And I think that's kind of like one of the margins they've been winning. That's been helping them win throughout the course of this year. But the defense has been a lot better recently. Like that Cavs team only just had 95 on them. They played Milwaukee, and that didn't go amazingly. But it's also the Bucks, and that was their first game of a road trip. De'Aaron clearly wasn't right. So I think that there's definitely times earlier this year where their defense still looked horrible, and that was more often than not like stuff around the rim. And I think they've improved a lot in that aspect, but there's definitely still nights where their rim protection is just not really there. The rotations are a little late. They're fouling a lot. So I weirdly think like a team that's not great at shooting threes, that's already something that Sacramento likes to take away, that if you can get to the rim, get guys in foul trouble, and Sacramento's maybe just half a step late on their rotations, that maybe that's something that plays in New York's favor.
Interesting. We've been top of the league in giving up threes, which caused a lot of fans to scream for Tibbs' head. We just got blown out by the Dallas Mavericks and things got a little bit weird. But since then, we've had like a top. We have every team so far has only shot 20 something percent from three on average, like 22 to 23% the last 4 games. So we might have cleaned that up, but at the same time, certain teams were missing pieces. So I guess what I want to ask is the last game versus the Cavs. How are you guys from 3 on that game?
Yeah, they started out hot. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but like Keegan was 4 of 4 from 3. HB was Barnes was 2 of 2 from 3. Like the team can really shoot. They went 16 to 33, 48% from 3 in that game. Sheesh. Herder's been one of the best 3-point shooters in the league this year. Like I said, Barnes and Murray are those guys there. I think Malik Monk is a great shooter. Trey Lyles is a good shooter. So like, there's nights that the shot's not falling, but I think more often than not, like if one guy is not getting it to go down, there's enough others that typically they're shooting the ball pretty well this year.
Got you. Because this is gonna be a litmus test for us Knicks fans, because they was like, our 3-point defense is horrible. It's horrible. If we still are able to hold teams to like 20-30% from 3, maybe we actually figure something out. But like I said before, Mitch and Grimes being here helped our defense a lot. Grimes is able to kind of fight over screens, and you don't have to rely on help as much because he can. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But also to me, guys like De'Aaron Fox, it's harder to fight over screens with a guy that speed. I saw Grimes kind of struggle for the first time really against Terry Rozier, and Grimes was playing Mitchell well. He was playing SGA well, but Terry Rozier had like a little speed gear. So I suspect if De'Aaron Fox does play, he might struggle with him. But if not, then we might be okay. Then I think his assignment, I'm not sure. Maybe his assignment will just be Herder, and then it'll be a lot easier for us. I don't know. Right.
Yeah, I have to see how that goes. If De'Aaron's playing, it changes the dynamic of everything. Like I said, I would guess he doesn't, and I feel pretty good about that. But we'll have to see. Like Malik Monk has some of that same twitchiness, and like he gets off the floor fast. He's got a burst to him for sure. Davion Mitchell is actually really fast with the ball in his hands too, but he's not a good shooter. So if you go under on him, like I think that's a good way to go. So yeah, there's definitely certain guys on the team that don't shoot. Like Davion will take him if he's open, but he hasn't been a good shooter. Sabonis, same thing. Like they're going down more recently. I think he's somewhere like 37%, but like you said, it's not even 2 a game. That's kind of just a here and there thing.
Right.
And then if KZ Okpala is getting any minutes, he's not really a shooter. Matthew Dellavedova, if there's no De'Aaron Fox, Dellavedova's a backup point guard. He's going to see like 15 minutes. Obviously not a shooter. Honestly, one of the most ugly jumpers I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
But then, yeah, Chimezie Metu, not a shooter. So there are certain guys that are not shooters. But there's also a lot that are probably some of the better shooters in the league.
Got you. Shout out to 96 Till, who says, not seeing how Grimes struggled with Rozier. You know what? You're right. It's overstated a little bit. He did okay with him. There was a stint where Rozier scored like 7 in a row, and the Hornets went on a run. So I'm guessing my mind is going to that specific stint where I felt like he's having time. He was having problems keeping up with him at 96 Till, but maybe it was a little bit overstated. I'll give you that. When it comes to Monk, I guess that's the guy off the bench who's probably going to hurt us, correct?
Yeah, Monk is definitely that guy. He didn't play well against Cleveland. He was okay, but like he comes in as just instant energy, man. Like it's very Jamal Crawford esque, like he could do everything on offense. And I don't think I realized how complete of a offensive player he is until I'm watching him every game, because he can pass the heck out of the ball. He shoots with the best of them. But then not only that, like his athleticism, like, of course, I knew he was bouncy, but I don't think I knew just how bouncy he really is.
Yeah.
And like contorting midair, all these crazy acrobatic reverses. Like, and when you could do that, he could hit a mid range, he can shoot threes, he can pass. Like, he really does everything on offense. And he's had multiple 30-point games this year. Like, if you catch him on the right day, like Malik will just straight up take over a game. I'm sorry, he had one 30-point game this year, but a couple 25 plus.
Got you. For us, we were hoping Quickly would kind of be that. For us, like Quickly has shown flashes. I feel like more of those last season where like the game would just it seemed like it's over, and all of a sudden Quickly would just go off and like shoot threes from like Dame range. And then you're like, oh no, now what do I do? Then you start to guard up on him and he blows by you. This year, I think he's been trying the 3-point shot has kind of eluded him. He's below average from 3 this season, for the last 2 seasons actually. And I feel like he's been trying to work more on his playmaking a little bit with like a little bit of mixed results. So I don't know if we have a super dynamic scorer coming off the bench right now. Quickly can still get you hot, but I feel like he's on a good day, he's been getting us like 15 to 20, if anything. The thing I do respect though is the defense from Quickly has been under the radar good for the league. He's consistently been one of our best perimeter defenders before Grimes has been here, and hopefully he'll be able to help litigate some of that Malik Monk magic over there. But if it's not him, we also have another guy who goes on the radar, Deuce McBride, who just started to crack the rotation, and he's all defensive guy, and he's still finding his offense, but he produces steals like nothing. He's 6 feet tall, long arms, and he gets after it. So there's like certain lineups that we play. Like we've been playing IQ with Deuce with Grimes lately, and it's kind of caused some havoc for teams who aren't ready for that level of intensity on defense and the switching. So that's something you guys might have to watch out for when it comes to this the second unit coming in and those guys coming in together. They can definitely cause some havoc for you guys. The scoring is just up and down. Like if we score on top of the defense, then we're really golden. But the scoring might be, a little bit slow. But what worked for us yesterday though was we started to play RJ with the second unit. RJ had a chance to be a little bit of the man, take over some of the scoring thing, and everybody else played defense around them, and then that worked out pretty well yesterday. So I don't know, you might see some of that today or tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, with how much passing the Kings do, like there's nights where, there's possessions where it looks beautiful. There's others where it's just like they're turning the ball over kind of left and right. And I think sometimes we've seen physicality bother them. There's other nights that they'll match that physicality just fine, and they're the ones bothering teams. So it's going to kind of, I think, depend what you get that night. But I think like physicality of guys like Julius Randle, RJ, Brunson, there's definitely nights that can bother the Kings, and especially when you're the road seed. Like if you just walk in on the wrong night, that physicality I think can really bother you. So I think which team is more physical, or I guess if Sacramento can successfully match that and not let it bother them, then that'll be a big kind of X factor here.
Yeah. Now we are physical, like teams between Brunson, RJ, and Randall. Like those guys are bully ball players. Like we don't shoot, but the things that's been keeping us in the games has been like the muckiness, like the drawing the fouls, getting to the foul line. RJ hasn't really been shooting well, but the free throws have been dropping for him this season. So that's the stuff that's been keeping us in the game. Plus, Mitchell Robinson getting offensive rebounds, eating off the fact that we can't shoot. He's like, oh, you can't shoot? Cool. I'm getting this offensive rebound put back. Hartenstein's been kind of doing that for us as well. Hartenstein is a big that we got from the Clippers recently. So you guys gonna have to watch out for the muckiness, because we definitely like to muck it up. Because we're not pretty. We're not pretty. We're not pretty. We mucky. So that might be something to watch out for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like I said, sometimes the Kings are great at matching it. Other nights it seems to catch them a little bit off guard. You know, I think like second unit, Metu doesn't do amazing at dealing with that. He's backup 5. And yeah, I mean, big thing for me for sure is just like, can Sabonis stay out of foul trouble? Because I think he's so important that if he falls into foul trouble, like I don't feel great about Metu and some of these other guys kind of dealing with those bigs that you kind of just walk through there.
I agree. Evan the Best, I see you in the chat. He asked, can Julius keep the streak up? I think this matchup goes to Julius. I feel like Julius is going to have a good night again, because he typically plays well against Sabonis, and it's either going to be Sabonis or Keegan guarding him. So I feel like Julius is going to have a good night. I think the question for me tonight is Brunson going tomorrow? I mean, is Brunson going to have a good night, because he's been struggling lately, and I feel like he has an injury problem that he's hiding. And then RJ Barrett is been up and down. Like one day he's shooting goods, one day he's not, one day he's finishing well, one day he's not. Typically he thrives a little bit better when it comes to, you know, going to the hole well too, when there's no shot blocker. Like that's what he loves. But if something happens, because what teams have been doing, they've been going zone on us, or they're like doubling us and daring us to shoot. If that starts to happen a lot and you're leaving RJ Barrett open and he's off, we're done. Like, so it really depends. It really depends. Like, I think shooting is going to have to really help us out today, especially because this team kind of goes smaller, guys. Like, Sabonis is their center, and it might litigate what Mitch does, and we might have to go smaller too. And if we're going to go smaller too, at some point, then we're going to have to shoot tomorrow. That's my prediction anyway.
No, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see how that balance goes. I guess that you throw like Harrison Barnes on Julius Randle, or maybe it's Sabonis, and then you try to put Barnes on the other big. Like, it'll be kind of interesting to see how they play with that. But like, there's a chance that it's just a mismatch and Randle has the advantage there, but we'll have to see. Yeah,
like, clearly, I think Randle has advantage for us. Sabonis, though, we still have problems with Sabonis depending on the night. It's Sabonis. You know what it is with y'all? It's the depth. Like, even though Randle can go off, Sabonis can also go off for you guys. And if you have De'Aaron Fox, then it's going to be a lot harder for us to keep up with the speed. Because I feel like in general, we've had problems keeping up with speed this whole season. We fared better with Grimes, though. We fared better with Grimes, but De'Aaron Fox being here might be, I don't know. It makes it tough for us if he makes the game. But I want him to be here, though. I actually want to, like, I want to test our team to see like what we really are. I don't want any asterisk victory, because we getting these asterisk victories lately where it's like, oh, they were missing a guy, it doesn't really count. Like, I want to see if we can beat a good team.
Yeah. Well, you only can play who's in front of you, right? And I think even without De'Aaron, like, they play a really high-paced offense. I think they're top 5 in pace, if I'm remembering that right. 6th, I guess, is what I see here. And I think that'll continue with or without De'Aaron, but I hope he plays too, man. I feel like usually he plays pretty well in the Garden. Like, I remember a game, maybe not last year, year before, he had like some windmill dunk in transition. Like, he just shows out a little bit more in the Garden. You know, it's once a year for the Kings. I feel like typically he performs well there, so I would love for him to play.
Nah, yeah, every time he comes here, he kills us. It's kind of upsetting. I'm not even gonna hold you. And then he trolls us on Twitter. I don't like that either.
Right. Right.
So if he plays, there's going to be a little extra something, because there's something between him and the Garden, and then like the fans, we go at him too. I forgot why we're going at him. There's so many little side storylines. I don't remember why we were fighting with him last year. Since somebody in the chat remind me, but I think we would go without him last year. I just forgot why.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I feel like I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he does seem like he gets up for those games though. Like I'm sure it's just the Garden, maybe you never know. Like guys could have previous friends that they don't get along with in cities and that gets them going, like you never really know. I think like Andrew Wiggins was the example I felt like in Minnesota. Like for some reason, every time he played OKC, he always went crazy. And it's like, dude, do you have like an ex-girlfriend here or something that you hate? Like what is up with you? And there's something about MSG and De'Aaron. So
yeah, that was Evan Fournier. Every time Evan Fournier played the Celtics, he would go off for like 40. And you're like, yo, what is up with this guy? He sucked every game except when he sees the Celtics. It was like a running joke. He's like, we're just gonna pretend we're playing the Celtics every game. And he's MVP. He was like, all right. But man, yo, great talk with you. Great talk with you. I don't know if you have anything else to add. What do you what do you think we need to look out for the most for this team? I guess I'll end with that. What do you think that we have to look out for the most from this team? And what do you think are the weaknesses are that we might be able to exploit? I'll end with that.
Yeah, I think and appreciate you having me on, man. This has been a good time. I think the physicality for sure, like I said, like if Sabonis can get in foul trouble, I think that right there is kind of in my mind the most obvious ticket to like how New York can really get an advantage here. And then I think on the Kings side, it's just like how many shots are going down from beyond the arc, because team could really shoot well. And from what you said, that's something New York struggled with a little bit throughout the course of this year. And like Herter is due for a somewhat big game. It feels like he's been a little slow. Like Malik didn't play well last game against Cleveland. Like Murray was on fire and Harrison Barnes has been as well. So to me, those are the two differences. Like, can Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett get guys in foul trouble on Sacramento's end? I think that'll go in their favor. But if Sacramento's knocking down a lot of threes, then maybe it leans the other way.
Yeah, RJ Barrett's kind of slow on the closeout, so that could definitely be happening. All right. Yeah, I guess for us, the pros, the things to look out for us is Julius Randle could go off for sure. He's very physical. Jalen Brunson versus Davion. If Jalen Brunson is healthy, it might be a long night for Davion. If we hit threes for us as well, we should be in good shape because we've been winning some strange games without hitting threes. Like you see 27th in the league in 3-point percentage, and we're 500 by some miracle. So that for us is probably what you look for after. Sometimes you can exploit our bench. Our bench is up and down sometimes. So sometimes right now it looks like our bench can defend, but we might have problems scoring off our bench depending on what night we have. So definitely that might be something to exploit. And just seeing if our 3-point defense is really real, especially if Fox is here. If Randall and RJ have to guard 3-point line and the paint consistently, they might have problems. Guys like Grimes can do it. Funny enough, I'm more worried about RJ doing both than Randall. I feel like I've seen more instances this season of Randall picking it up on the defensive end, but RJ still seems a little bit slow. That's me personally. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Also, I got super chat. Okay. Salute to Jay Boogie. He says he sends a $10 super chat, says pulling up for 3 is out now. Spotify and other platforms. Please grab that Christmas video coming soon. Hit that like button. Please salute. 3 capital S's, 4 in a row. Let's go. Shout out to Jay Boogie. He's our resident Knicks Twitter, Knicks YouTube content creator, rapper who puts out music. Definitely shout out to my guy and go grab that album and watch that video and follow that man on Twitter. Shout out to my guy Jay Boogie. And Big Chino says the beef was over. He dissed us during the draft. Okay, okay, all right. I don't remember what it was, but okay, he dissed us during the draft. Was it last year's draft? Is it because we traded out? Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Jeez, I wish I would have pulled it up before the show. It might have made it interesting. All right, all right. But yo, that's our show. Thank you, Will. Thanks, Brennan. thank you for sharing your info. Hopefully you guys found this information useful. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And yo, we know what it is. We're here after every game talking Knicks. And I'll also try to have people here to talk about the pregame to prepare you mentally for what we have to go through and overcome for wins and what we have to avoid for losses. And also, if you're a basketball fan, you want to catch up and keep in touch with what's happening with the Kings, definitely follow Brendan at the King's Pulse on YouTube. He's on YouTube as well.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. That is our show, guys. I'm a last shout out to the chat. Shout out to Kaiser Soze, Big Chino, Geraldine McGyver, Keith Turner, Evan Best, and everybody else is rocking with the show. All right. Tro Vantool as well. Shout out to you guys. I already know what it is, man. As always.
Shout out to Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks YouTube streets. That's our show. We out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.